I want you to succeed at things that you never thought were possible, and I want you to fail at things that you never thought were possible. But I just want you to take that failure and move forward.
So, this morning we're going to talk about the image of black men in our society. Black men are 6 times as likely as white men to be murder victims. They are 2.5 times as likely to be unemployed. They finish last in practically every socioeconomic measure from infant mortality to life expectancy. And some think that black men in America seem almost an endangered species. It's interesting that many people perceive black men as less intelligent, less productive, more hostile than the rest of society. We thought it would be interesting to confront these stereotypes. We have with us this morning to share their insight 3 very interesting men. Ishmael, how do you feel?
Last episode I did.
What was it on? I can't remember what it was on.
It was when I got the truck. It actually had to have been a year because when I got the truck.
Business. That's what it was.
Exactly.
Business.
I think I didn't even post that shit on YouTube because YouTube just be taking my shit down, but it's on Spotify. Everything's on Spotify. But in any event, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Imperfect Podcast, Season 3. I'm your host, Rey, joined by Ralph for some crazy shit. I don't know. We're going to talk about everything. The main point is to stick to AI type shit, but, you know, I got a lot of shit going on. Like, I just got this random fucking gift that my boy Boss, what's his name? Mad Dog Paul from Boston Man Magazine. This fancy shit right here. Yeah.
That's the thing you kill the final boss with.
Exactly. I want the knife.
Right.
Please. Y'all know about that. But yeah, man,
that's Haitian level.
Yo, this shit is, and it's like Damascus pressed on the side of it and all types of shit. Right. But before we get into anything, because I see this shit, and Facebook is absolutely fucking broken now. Like, I like log in, and I don't even see my friend's shit. So if you started a company, like a clothing company, or like any type of shit, that a product that you're buying and I didn't like the shit or I didn't share the shit, I probably literally didn't see it because I'm logging into my Facebook and like the first 16 things are like LeBron Jordan arguments from groups that I'm not even in. And I'm like, what is going on? Like, it'll be that, and then it'll be like arguments about rap shit. And I'm like, I don't really argue about rap shit like that, but I'm like, it's taken us away to where in the beginning Facebook was like, oh, I get to keep up with my people and I get to like know that they're seeing stuff. But I know now the algorithm is so messed up that I can post some shit. Like I could have posted yesterday, oh, I'm going live on my regular feed and I'm getting one like. So I'm like, I don't even think people see this shit for days. So it's not even the point where stories are a little bit better, but I don't have the ability. I don't know. Some of y'all motherfuckers that can just watch every fucking story, like even if you're flipping through it, I don't even have the patience to flip through the shit. I don't have the patience to give 2 seconds to that shit unless I'm like, oh, okay, it's right there and let me see what it is, or I can see from the little picture shit that, oh, this looks like something I might be interested in, like you're doing an event or you're doing some clothing. So that's usually where I see those type of things. But speaking of that, the groups that they send me into, because I see this shit every day and people acting like it's nothing. I kind of want your opinion. I don't know if you watched any games on the end season tournament, because everybody's like, oh,
yeah, Celtics.
I wouldn't hang that banner, and this shit don't mean nothing, and everything means nothing. So before you get into it, I was talking to Fink the other day about it, and I said, that the NCAA tournament was nothing in the beginning compared to the NIT tournament. So what do you think people said about the NCAA tournament in the beginning? Right. Like, they're probably like, what's this bullshit? But in actuality, my opinion of the in-season tournament is that it's unquestionably going to work. Like, it was a higher level of competition when I watched it, and then it's in fucking Las Vegas, and then it's single elimination. So 10 years from now, and obviously LeBron got that message that I better compete for this shit, it's going to be something, and he knows that if it's going to be something, I might as well be the first person to stamp my name on the shit.
Yeah. I mean, it's a legacy thing for sure. I think it's funny because some of the people I heard saying that the tournament is unimportant celebrate semi-pro football championships. And at that point, like, what really are we doing? If you're celebrating semi-pro football championship and you're mad at the NBA for having an in-season tournament and celebrating a championship in that, like, it's stupid. Anything you do, anything you compete in that you win versus a bunch of different other teams is worth celebrating. I don't care if it's poop it up. It could be whatever.
For real.
Obviously, these dudes are at such a level where I think everyone took it seriously until they couldn't. Like if their team was, they knew they weren't going to win it, they probably took it less seriously. They tried, but they don't get blown out. But I think that when the cream rise to the top, it was a good tournament.
I think what ends up happening and is that we put these people, these like actors and these fucking basketball players in a different stratosphere because of the amount of money that they make, that they think that people think like, oh, their experiences in life are different than mine. But I can personally tell y'all, I have like 6 professional athletes numbers on my phone. I've encountered like a number of them when I got their number, and what I've accomplished in life and where I've been and what I've done without the money that's anywhere close to they have, they were kind of inspired by what I was able to achieve. And this is like a true ass story. Like I've been in Colombia with guys that were special forces that were scared to leave the walled city, and I've been outside the walled city with just me and my wife till fucking 6 o'clock in the morning. And then all of a sudden we come back home in just a cab like it's regular shit, and everybody's just like, oh, it's whatever. That's the craziest thing ever. And I'm like, you kill people for a living. How crazy can it be? How crazy can it get?
Well, everybody's life is different. Like it's funny because even anytime I've knowingly risked my life, it was nothing compared to being a kid growing up in Grove Hall trying to walk home from the store and get back to home without getting jumped. I mean, it was I had to walk to school because of the way busing worked in Boston. When they thought I was special needs, I was all the way out in East Boston going to the school way out there by the church, and then I had to take the Orange Line, the bus to the Orange Line to Dudley to the Blue Line, and then get to Orient Heights, and then walk to school was crazy. And then the next year when I tested, I finished really high on the first year standardized testing. They moved me to MLK, which was probably like 7 blocks from my house, but it was in different territory, and I had to dodge getting jumped and robbed every day. And then like that has not like if you tell me, hey, kick in this door, we're gonna raid this house, I don't care about that at all. But trying to get home, yeah, that was weird. That was dicey because there's a different set of variables. So it's not always like what the person's experience is like. Yeah, they kill people, they were warriors, but that's in that setting. Put them in a different type of setting, it's still everybody's uncomfortable at some time.
Yeah, and at that time, we know what I'm saying, we're walking around looking at it like, oh, it's whatever, we're here. And everybody, oh shit, my laptop losing battery because I was charging my phone. See, can't be doing that. Can't be multitasking. When I get in the office, I forgot the shit that's in there and that's not in here anymore. The crazy shit is like, I note things from time to time, and I just note the one thing, and then if I wake up and I'm like, oh, okay, that's something that will stick and kind of something that will not stick. And the last 2 things that I noted is that who is the smartest, most popular person that you think you've ever encountered? Because I have a theory that knowledgeable and passive will always be second class to the persuasive wow. And even when it comes to modern medicine, like there was a time where they were using fucking leechers, and they still
Yeah.
do at some points. But
No, they do. Yeah, bloodletting leeches is very
so
effective.
if you're in a place like, and you're like, yeah, man, you're knowledgeable and passive. Okay, this is probably the best medical procedure for this. But then there's a wow guy in the fucking 1800s selling snake oil, and he's like, no, everybody, come over here, check out this fucking show. Rounds up some lights and shit, and then he's like, this is the way, and you're just not loud and persuasive enough at the time. He is going to win, and he's not just going to win the argument. He's going to win the fact that his medical procedure is now better than yours, even though you're right.
Always be the greatest idea.
I mean, yeah.
I mean, that's why the number one type of person in the world as far as influence is someone who's a bit of a Pied Piper swindler type. You look at your or Trump or anybody who can sell someone on an idea and get them marching in the same direction, it's a powerful person. Whether they're intelligent or you think they're bright or their concepts are something you agree with or not, if they can influence a large amount of people, it's
Um,
powerful.
I'm
Period. Doesn't matter who
but
they
now
are.
imagine taking that level of ability, because when people say, "Oh, what the fuck is Kanye talking about? Dragon blood energy?" He's talking about that. He's talking about that with Trump.
Yeah.
So like comparison to like convincing people in the 1800s versus now, or essentially in like biblical times, and I looked it up. In biblical times, essentially 200,000 people walking the earth, which I don't even fucking believe. I think it's way less than that. That
Probably seemed like that. I mean, if that's the
how
right
many
number, I
people
probably
do you
seemed.
really need to convince? Fucking 10? And they're like, yeah, this
Yeah.
motherfucker's the guy. Then you go over to somebody else and he's like, no, you're not. And then your 10 people stone you to fucking death. Guess what? You better believe us or get stoned to death, because now we're 20 people. And then you're the next village or the next village, the next. You could kill somebody and fucking walk down the street. And bro, Ted Bundy murdered somebody and then moved a different state away. They didn't catch this motherfucker for years. And this was not like in the 1800s or like fucking biblical times. Like this is like fucking closer to now when cops could call each other.
It's funny because you say 1800s biblical times, but compared to the technology we have now, it kind of was. And the other thing was is he fit into what society looked like, right? So it isn't odd based on the times that he could slip through because he was just normal white dude, not bad looking. Like no one, anybody really paid attention to. It wasn't like he was 7 foot tall black guy with an afro or like a small Asian man. That someone that just didn't stick out in society. So he was able to skate by with a lot of stuff. But technology as it is now with facial recognition and all that, I know we're probably going to get into that, but you get put in a category no matter what you look like.
Yeah.
Yeah, you get tabbed immediately, like, oh, his two beige bald dudes with beards. Like that's it's just right
Except for your
away. You
dog.
just
He doesn't see me as like you at all.
no, yeah. Maybe that's the problem. He's like, hey, there's two of you. Nah, I don't like that one. Yeah.
So I think the thing that kind of started the AI thing for me was obviously me watching the Black Mirror episode, and we kind of talked on that. And this is like maybe fucking
No trip.
6 months in the making of us trying to find the time to put this episode together.
Right. Yeah.
But the episode that I'm speaking of is like a guy. I don't remember the name of it because I had it noted down and I could look it up. But who gives a fuck? You can look it up. Not you, but anybody that's watching or anybody that's listening. A guy goes to the store, him and his wife live in like this countryside, and then he just fucking dies. He disappears. Like she doesn't know what happened or anything like that. So moving forward, her friend's like, hey, you can call a number, and when you call the number, they have a system where they can pile a bunch of information about what your husband was and have his voice, and you can literally have a phone conversation with him. And I stopped at that point, and I was like, we have the technology to do that right now. So like
Cool.
if they were to compile a Facebook, a profile off of your social media and how you act and how you respond to all these type of things, all they need now is the tone of your voice, where you can find, anywhere. They could steal this podcast and then boom, this is what this motherfucker sounds like. He was talking for 2 hours. We have all of his keywords and so on and so forth. Now the next level of where that show went was like, oh, if you want to move up to the next level, then we can send you this fucking shit that you put in your tub and it turns into an actual person.
Right.
The craziest thing about that is that the person was there, and that's when she started to be able to go, okay, my husband usually breathes like this when he sleeps. And my husband usually does this, or if I do this, it's usually an argument. And what I realized when I listen to a lot of these people talk about, oh, I want a wife, and I want to do this, is that you don't realize small things about the person that you're with in your relationship at small periods of time, that when you're in a relationship for a long time, you could see in other people, other women or other men, where they're lacking, where they're putting in effort, what they're desiring, what they deserve and what they don't deserve. And they don't even see it. So those are the type of things where it's like, you motherfuckers might be able to be with a robot and be fine. But I'm not,
Yeah.
and that lady was not in that thing, because it's like, I've already realized that I deserve this, and this is the way that person treated me, and so on and so forth. But with that episode,
So I think with that, I think that if the difference is you have different, like everybody's different as far as where they are mentally, right? Like you have certain people with no emotional intelligence, and they would probably adjust very easily to that. Like they don't need much, like a goldfish makes them happy. So for them, all the little subtle nuances that we pay attention to probably don't even exist to them. So I do believe that that isn't necessarily a one size fits all thing, but at the same time, I think there's a certain group of people amongst the population that wouldn't carry the way. Like will only be attached to something for so long because they don't really love and care about something to that depth because they don't have that emotional intelligence. So it's almost like, who cares? If you're not that connected, like, man, I really liked a lot of things about this person. Then they're gone, and a week later, you're like, nah, I get someone else. Well, chances are you didn't have that connection because you're not really capable of that. If you really thought you felt like that and really don't, if you could disconnect that fast. So I do think that that's necessarily not a one size fits all thing. But at the same time, you know, there's an argument for nothing gets over the last one like the next one. And some people, again, probably a lack of emotional intelligence, if they have, like, they break up with a girl and they're like, oh, that was terrible. I really gonna miss her. And then they meet someone else that same night, they can be like, I'm all right. You know what I mean? Like,
Yes.
I've seen it. I've seen people do it. And I'm like, wow, bro, you just 2 minutes ago you were crying. You're a grown man. You were crying, and now, nah, it's all right though. She's cool. I like her. Right now, I don't know if when they're home alone by themselves, whatever, if they're gonna, revisit that feeling or not. But it just seems to me that not everybody's built the same. Some people, and then obviously there's people that are stone cold serial killers that can just forget the person even existed. I know a few people like that. It's scary. I don't have that. I'm a very warm, open, loving. I mean, I'm violent, but I'm not like I'm still a pretty happy person.
Necessary amount of violence.
Right. It's right. It's not. Let's put it this way. I love the idea of peace, but I'm not a pacifist. It's just it's it still can make you so that you're still a good person, but it's just a different tool set, skill set.
So, with everything you just said, the way I would paraphrase it is: you ever see somebody that um, you guys are arguing about a game, and you're like, nah, it's gonna go like this, or it's like a sporting event, and then they're like, no, it's gonna go like this, and they say some outrageous fucking take, and you're like, yo, this is ridiculous. Like, what are you talking about? And then what happens is a week later, that shit ends up coming to happen, and then they go, I fucking told you, and then you're like, did you bet on it? And then they're
Right.
like, no.
Right.
And I'm like, well, if you didn't bet on it, then I don't believe that you even trusted your fucking self when you said it. You just said it.
Yeah, you weren't invested, right? Yeah, it's not
So
right.
that level in that relationship is like, of course you can throw it away because you never got in the first place. What the fuck? So those are the type of things that happen. It's like, yeah, oh, okay. It's like when I do my event, people are like, oh, you shouldn't be so mad. You should just do this or you should just do that. And I'm like, it sounds good, but or I'm unbothered. Unbothered is uninvested. It just is. Whether it comes, it's like telling a Wall Street guy to just show up and be unbothered by the way that the fucking stock markets are shooting up and down instead of blasting cocaine so you can stay on top of it. It's like, if I'm unbothered, I'm fucking going to go broke.
I got a slightly different take on that. I'm you know me. I'm typically unbothered, right? Uh, I think with me, it sits in a place where I've survived things that kind of like once you come back from it, you're just like the rest of it's whatever. So for me, what really triggers me is something that happens with my kids that'll get an emotional response from me. There's a certain level of offended I'll get if someone says something like if I know them a certain way and they try to accuse me of doing something the opposite. I'm right there. Now you want the problem? I'm here now, right? But if generally if it's something like someone flips me off in traffic, talks trash, whatever. All right, buddy, have a good day, right? I'll kick your ass. Okay, you might, cool, whatever. But don't touch me. Don't come too close. Like just certain boundaries for me. So my level of unbothered is it's just not worth it until it is. And that's a fine line. I can't even really define it. But there's certain things that trigger me that probably shouldn't. But most things that trigger people really don't trigger me because I just know the tactic. But I know what you mean about investment. Like if you're emotionally invested in something and it crumbles, there should be a response. Again, that's that serial killer stuff. If you can't respond to that, something wrong with you. Like that's a
Yeah, it's
problem.
the response, and it's more like a level where you're like, for me, there's the artistic part, and then there's like if I'm saying to people, yeah, man, I'm just not getting what I should get, or getting the return that I should get. People think like, oh, I want to be a billionaire. No, I'm not. I don't even have a monetary number on where I should be. What it comes down to is that I just want it's like if you left a company and you like literally built parts of the building and you have a contract that says, hey, whatever you built, you take. And then you just go, all right, fine, I'm just taking my shit then. The level that I put forth into this world is like, I just want my shit. Just give me my shit. Stop acting like I didn't do all this to deserve my shit. And when you do more and you put more effort and what comes back is that level where you're like, damn, all I want is that. I don't need $1 billion or $1 million. I just don't want to be knocked down. Like I'm not putting this level. Like I've had people say, "Oh, just be positive and you manifest blah blah blah." And I'm like, I put more fucking positivity in the world than most regular people fucking dream about. And that's just the only way that I can think about it. So when I think about stuff like just the conversation of our emotion in general, I go into kind of the AI thing and think about what is the best case scenario for this? What is the worst case scenario for this? To start it, I would say like for AI, for Chat GPT, which is the biggest one that people know of. Now there's millions of them, and people have their own. And I imagine the government has one that's fucking real time right now, that's breaking our personality down on this conversation. But where do you personally think that AI will like over the top help in terms of stuff, like the good part?
It's hard. I don't like it, right? So for me, I'm a communicator. I'm good at it. I write well. I speak well. I don't view it as a threat to me specifically because live, someone's still going to have to come up with their own ideas, right? It's not going to be there for you when it's time to speak to someone face to face. But what I don't like about it, it's almost catfishing. Like, let's say you read this resume and it's the greatest resume you've ever met. You go and interview the person, and they're pretty prepared based off the resume, and they can answer the questions. You hire them 3 months down the road, you figure out this is not the person on the resume. So, in that respect, I feel like it's given someone an unfair advantage because they didn't. Basically, it's like plagiarism and everything else. We're using someone else's work, but you can't represent that in real life. And in real time, when the person's you don't have AI, you don't have that to help you out to guide you. So for me, I don't like it. I don't like that piece of it. The other piece is I almost feel like it's an advantage because of that because I know that if I'm going to pitch someone an idea from my security company, right, or someone wants to hire someone to do some type of protective services, and I go there, and guy that came before me used everything right off a script. I'm gonna destroy him because I can answer all those questions in real life. I don't need AI, and in that way, it's a giant advantage because anytime you follow an act that's not as good as yours, you're going to look much better. So I see both sides of it, but what I don't like about it is the idea that it's some crutch for you know weaker people to somehow portray themselves as strong.
I what the last sentence you just said was it almost blew my brain in pieces. I don't believe that when you say something that is off script that is more knowledgeable that you look better. I think that that's still in the eyes of the beholder, and you're thinking about the way you receive somebody, and the way that we
Yeah,
receive and perceive people is way different. Whereas
yeah,
somebody else is like, oh yes, he checks all the boxes, but there's no box for a level of knowledge that you haven't thought about yet. There's no box for a level of
true.
security that you haven't answered yet. So like if this dude just like some fucking random guy that's like, they're coming around my house, you don't understand. Shit is crazy. And then the first guy that comes in there is like, I'm an ex-marine and I killed 100 people. He's gonna be like, well, you're the guy for the job. He doesn't have the wherewithal to ask the right security questions. So therefore, you're not even given the chance to give the right security answers. So it goes back to that same thing that I'm saying, knowledgeable and passive versus the persuasive wow. Mr. fucking security guy, and I'm sure you've ran into a million of them where you just go, this guy's a fucking idiot. But you have to be there to identify that he's an idiot and then say it to the idiot that's trying to hire you.
Yeah. I mean that's again that's why I welcome and open all the questions from competitors. Like I went to I was talking to a private school one time, and they said we have the best security company in all of Florida that handles our business. I'm like, oh really? Okay, good. What are they? Who are they? Okay, I knew the company. It's okay. And they were like, well, they do this, this, and this. And as they told me more and more, I was just kind of thinking like, okay. It's like walking to a tribe in the middle of the jungle and saying, look at this matchbook. I got fire, right?
That's exactly what I'm saying.
On, I knew I was getting the contract. It was a done deal after that because I said, okay, let me ask you a question. What if they put the scenario out there, right? They said this is how they do things. Well, what if this happened? And they all looked at each other like, I just took the matches away. You know what I mean? And you either know or you don't. And at the end of the day, it's more of a, if you really are about what you're talking about, you won't come in with a presentation. You'll come in with already knowing what they need. You'll show them how you're going to fix it. And then you'll give them evidence that you've done this in the past and how you do it in other places and what the ideas are and what the connections to their specific need is. What you're seeing with AI is not that. You're just seeing a canned script of what they should say to try to sway them to choose your company. No real depth.
So I'm glad because Luis Martins, he just said you should see the agents, like the real estate agents that you use AI. I was going to go into that because something like security is so cut and dry that all you have to explain is like, yeah, I'm more secure. But the levels that you can bring to something like real estate, and therefore, like I said to you before,
crazy. I didn't even
what
think of that.
it comes down to is at the end of the day, if everybody's fucking developing houses on a block of 100 straight houses and they're all black and white, but the developers are making money, and at the end of the block, you go, hey, you know what? I want my house to be color. You're going to look like a fucking maniac next to 100 people because they all made money and you made what you wanted. Your actual creative inspiration. And your actual creative inspiration is what separates you when it comes to something like sales, when it comes to something like the skills that you use to sell houses, or the skills that you use to sell in general, or the skills that you use to sell something that doesn't even fucking exist yet. And guess what? AI cannot teach you how to create something that does not exist yet.
And imagine Lou now with the cheat code. He's all handsome Cape Verdean dude. All of a sudden he comes in with those big, beautiful teeth.
And that escrow.
That's cheating anyway.
That's cheating. That's cheating anyway.
Yeah, I'm buying a house on the phone from him. Yo, Skype, show me your teeth. Oh, yeah, bro. Sign the deal.
This is the guy. He sold the mouse houses. He has the prettiest teeth. It's over.
He's the king.
So, I know, I don't remember I don't know if you remember this conversation, but one of the best case, two best case things that I see that can literally eliminate fucking these jobs is a lawyer defense. An AI lawyer defense would be insane.
Oh God. Yeah.
It would.
Well, that is one of the things where if you can, like, let's say you're a good actor, right? Let's say you can read a script and interact with the script, not just read it, but interact with it and use the ideas from that script. That'll work because all you're doing is regurgitating the same shit some other lawyer said at some point. No one's creating a defense, right? If you're even the most creative person in the world's lawyer, you're still going to have to stay within a certain framework because the law is very specific. So you can get creative in the way you deliver it, but it's still going to be the same shit. So I think that in that instance, AI would be helpful because it's going to give you ideas that you might not have thought about when you were trying to build the case.
Well, it could bring up every comparative case in the history of Earth, like where motherfuckers are staying up all night with extra fucking assistants, like read all these law books and tell me where you find something that's like this. You could just be like, hey, find something that's like this, and you have that level of defense in seconds. You hear that, Ahmed? Right. Get your ass on here. So, like, those are the things where you're like, okay, like every case in the history of the fucking Earth, like, okay, here it is at your fingertips. Well, and you're right, you still need the kind of the gesturing and the ability to be persuasive to perform the ability that you have, the information that you have the right way. But at the end of the day, it's still like, yo, whereas another guy's like, oh, even a fucking a legal defender could show up and just be like, oh, all right, what cases are like this? Boom, 2 seconds. Instead of you doing any fucking work, you're like, all right, now you have a good defense immediately.
I'll give you a perfect example. The movie with Joe Pesci there, My Cousin Vinny. That's what he did.
Yeah.
He just looked at a whole bunch of other stuff and he kind of formed this whole thing from there.
So what's it called? The fucking Stephen Avery case. The I forgot the name of it. Making a Murderer on Netflix. Season 2. Yeah. The lawyer buys the same car that he has, buys this blood from a pig, smashes the head open on the side of the car at the same angle as a point of argument. Like, that was when I watched it, I was like, this is one of the smartest people I've ever seen. Like the way that you've seen it, but over experience, it's the same way that you kind of talk about security, where it's like, okay, well, I've seen this before, so now this is how I would approach it. This is how I would defend it, and so on and so forth. Ahmed just messaged me. Is he on this shit? There's no way he's on this shit. Hold on 1 second. I add that motherfucker to it right now. Over here sending me fucking reels. Join the podcast, motherfucker. Hold on 1 second. Sorry, everybody. The next level of things that I would think is because I think that one's a big one, is a hospital diagnostician, like what they see Dr. House as. I think that if you were to plug in your vitals and explain your information to an AI versus explaining to a regular person, I think the level of error. Damn, my camera's going everywhere. Hold on 1 second. I gotta fix that shit. The level of error for a human versus a fucking AI would be way more. Like, because most of the time they're guessing anyway, and they're telling you, oh, okay, you know, we'll see, and we'll give you this medication. I've seen a fucking drug called Wellbutrin that they give for depression, for alcohol fucking abuse, for drug abuse, for all types of things, and then it can also, for depression, make somebody more suicidal. I'm like, that's a hell of a fucking, hey, tell me how you feel in 2 weeks. And by the way, oh, I'm dead, doc. Like, what the fuck?
So hold on, what kind of doctor are we talking about?
A diagnostician. So, like, in actuality, like, if I go into, because the way that people on a regular basis think that like doctors and hospitals work is like, I gotta go to the emergency room, doc, my chest hurts, and then like the fucking nurse checks your vitals, and then the doctor comes in and goes, guess what, motherfucker, you got cancer. It just doesn't work like that. Like, you don't know you got cancer for like fucking 4 weeks unless you got some big ass fucking mass in your chest that they see in the X-ray that day. I've seen like the way that this works, and like for somebody like me who's experienced, like my sister dying from brain cancer, they didn't know for like 4 weeks, if not like 2 months, and at that time said it was benign, and then it wasn't. So the way you treat it, and then with multiple medical studies that you've read, chemotherapy doesn't even fucking work. Like, it doesn't work by the level of the studies, but people keep doing it and spending money on it.
I think with that, you know, with any type of, and this is part of maybe the business of medicine, is whatever gives you hope. I've seen more people survive on faith than anything, God, whatever they pray to, and honestly, medicine only works if you have faith in it. So your body's a perfect machine; it'll shut down when it's time to shut down. We all go sometime. And what I'll say is, like, when I said that, you missed the joke, but I said, what if it's an Indian doctor? But there's definitely levels to it, and I'll tell you, the reason why Dr. House would probably prevail over the AI is the fact that he is human, the fact that he can align himself with emotion to get people to hope and believe.
No.
And
So specifically, Dr. House, that was his gift. That he did not have emotions.
Right. It's like a diagnostic computer.
That nigga just stayed back in his office. He never wanted to see the people. He just wanted to see what it looked like on paper. He wanted to see the numbers.
Autistic.
And say like, yo, this is what it is. I'll make the decision off the data. So if you're saying that and everybody's holding it up in high regard and saying, yo, this is what it is, then somebody like Dr. House, this is like Dr. House times 9,000. Every single medical case that's ever happened, every single result that's ever happened, at a snap of your fingers, like fucking Thanos, and then boom, there it is. We think that it could be this. Now, the think that the AI that it could be is going to be like 50% better than a human, because in actuality, that shit still boils down. Now, Dr. House, as an example, was the best diagnostician in the fucking world in the show. But you're not running into that person in real life. You're running into a first doctor in an emergency room, then a next level doctor. Then if they think there's something wrong, then you're going to a diagnostician, and then that diagnostician discuss it with 2 other ones, and then we come to an agreement of what it is. So it's like, and that person's literally based the same way that you based your security company. I know this shit because I experienced it, so let me shut your shit down. But if you don't, if you haven't experienced it, if you haven't seen it, if you haven't seen, like, the way that every single other doctor referred to COVID, where you're looking at one say, yeah, this shit is serious, and you're looking at me and you's doctor go, yeah, fuck this shit, load up on D3.
Yeah. So it's funny because there's a kind of an easy correlation here. Like if I asked you, Ray, who has the best pizza, you're gonna say it's Pepe's, right? Like I already know,
That I've been.
right?
That I've
Now,
been.
exactly. So if you tell me, based on your experience, who handles this type of cancer well, and I know that these billionaires down there all go to Cleveland Clinic, I'm gonna say Cleveland Clinic.
Correct.
Because there is still a hierarchy of quality of what they do. Now, theoretically, any specialist should have that over a regular doctor. But like you just said, it could be an emergency room doctor. It could be anyone who sees it first or sees it from a different perspective or just sees the state you're in at the time they see you and can give you an accurate diagnosis. But medicine's one of those things where you can be wrong and still be right because no matter what, it's going to get paid out. The person dies. All right, I was wrong, but I tried. I was more right than wrong.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things where,
right
yeah,
to try.
if you have 50 patients and 49 of them die, you're probably not going to get much business, but you're still going to have a job somehow.
I mean, that was amazing because you just walked into a whole other segue that AI will never be able to replace, and that is your experience with food. It just can't. All I can do is base it on what other people say. And I've heard a lady tell me that the best steak she ever had was at Longhorns. So, fuck you, bitch, and fuck AI.
It's true. People with different. I look. I gave up on that a long time ago. I have my own ideas of what's great, but what I say now is, "What's your favorite?" When they say it, I might go, "Yeah, right, like word, Pandarosa, damn, right." But I give them the idea that they can have a favorite. It doesn't have to be my favorite. I could not like thin rubbery steak, and they could love it, right? Like Keith's on here. Keith Watkins out. I'll tell you, he's my favorite person in the world that I don't see every day. He's the most interesting person in the world to me because he willingly knows how to write words the correct way on Facebook and just spells them wrong. Not on purpose. He just spells it like that. But I know he knows the real spelling. But he acts like that's okay. I could just write in this language. Everybody's going to accept it. They're going to like react it or laugh react it or love react it anyway because I don't want to do it any other way but me. He's almost like Basquiat. He's this like crazy.
We're talking about a fucking
genius.
Era of kids that abbreviates words with longer words.
Oh yeah, my favorite.
That shit makes no sense to me. I'm like, what are we doing? Absolutely. Are you just trying to look fucking stupid? Which at the end of the day, if you're talking to somebody in person, and I have this in one of my notes, it doesn't even have anything to do with this. Your emotions, you could have a conversation without saying a word through emotions and expressions. So I get that part of it. When you're typing online, sometimes you have to dumb yourself down to your demographic. And to me, I just kind of refuse to do that shit. I'm just like, I can't do it. Like if I'm taking off, fucking follow me or get left. I don't get it. I can't take all this knowledge. It's like
you're a little impatient though.
I'm a little
impatient.
I have to equate it all now to the security aspect. It's like you fucking you gather all this information to somebody just ask you to fucking come there and guard the dumbest fucking shit you've ever seen in your life. And you're like, yo, why is this shit important? Like,
I'll give you a better one than that. We run a company together. And I can say, hey, they want this design. And you can make the Mona Lisa of designs. The best thing you're like, this is it. Oh shit, I don't even want to give them this. And then you send it, and I'm like, no, they want this.
I'm gonna give you the charge or fucking the charge like, design or the glow in the dark design.
You get so offended because you created that masterpiece that they don't want. And I get it because there's a creative piece of this that keeps it here, like that. Why we love it, but at the same time, the only right answer is what the customer wants in that instance,
and it's just not the right answer.
It is
there's a fucking lady that accepted $1 million to paint a fucking portrait for a museum, and she taped a fucking banana with duct tape to a white fucking canvas.
I'm in. I love that.
Okay,
I love that.
So now when you see me say whatever, or the number one thing is the furniture moving. Oh, can we just change the one stitch right here? You don't even got no style, motherfucker.
So my favorite artist in the world ever is Basquiat. And it's not because he's a great artist. It's because he trolled everybody. He made the most bullshit paintings on purpose. And he said it. These white rich motherfuckers going to buy it anyway. And I love the fact that he had it all figured out. Like, no matter what I do, it's going to be great because it's already been said that I'm great. So he loved maybe half of the stuff he painted. But some of the stuff he painted hits me in a place where, like, that is true genius. And then some of it's like, nah, he was messing with people on this one.
Yeah.
And I love that about him. But he didn't care. And that's, to me, that's all of it when it comes to being creative is I'm going to make this regardless of whether you love it or not. If you don't want this design, cool, I'll make it anyway and keep it. Like, I'll make a jersey for me. I'll make a hoodie for me. But for me, from a business aspect, if someone wants something terrible, I'll try to talk them out of it because I know they're just going to be wasting money. So if they get like a uniform that I know is not going to be current next year, I'll be like, how long do you intend to use this? Well, I'm going to use it, we hope to use it 3-4 seasons. Well, coach, let me just tell you, this design's a little dated as it is. You're probably going to get this season out of it. People are going to be cool because it's new. Once the newness wears off, it's going to look corny as hell. You're not going to look, everybody's not going to want it. And then talk them into something a little more conservative, a little more, classic.
So when it comes to that, like what I've changed about that is that I only get upset when people say, "Yo, I want you to just make what you think is the shit."
Yeah.
When they do that, and then I give it back, and it's like,
then they want to change it. Yeah, I get that.
How do you change this? How do you make it pop more? I'm like, yo, this is it. Like, what are we talking about here? Like, I fucking spent goddamn 10 hours on this and had to lock in my mind. Had to put my whole life on hold.
The same thing, except make it look like a Patriots uniform.
Yeah, exactly. And that exactly what you said is like, oh, okay, 10 hours in the other direction. I gotcha. But I've gotten.
Throw that out the window.
At this point, I've gotten used to fucking, hey, can we put flags on the flags and then make sure that we have wings on the wings and then turn it around and then the wings are wings and then it's fucking digital camo with fucking wing American flags? Like, I've gotten used to all that. I have a million of them. I can easily turn that into whatever it needs to be turned into.
Digital camo's making a comeback.
Yeah, of course it is. It's fucking Jesus Christ.
Yeah, the helicopter is called the Skippy. You know why?
So... let's go to some bad worst case scenario things when it comes to AI.
Right,
what do you got?
I have a fortress and guns, and I live on an island. Let's go.
What do you have for the worst case scenario things of what can happen by people just saying, yeah, AI is the fucking answer?
So we've seen this in several movies, right? So a lot of movies have played this out. You got Terminator, Matrix, all that stuff. The reality is they're all right in a sense, but the common theme that everybody's leaving out is the fact that all they're trying to do eventually, not trying to do, but all that happens is you become dependent on the government, yes. Right? You no longer can work because any creative job is gone. And then even the mass, grunt work jobs are also gone. Robots are doing them. What are you doing for work? Well, you're a teacher. Now we can do a robot for that too. Doctor, robot. So we're all living as what? Energy sources, right? So in a way, the Matrix, when I finally figured it all out, I was like, oh, shit. Yeah. Oh, right?
The Matrix, Running Man, Hunger Games, the Lorax, the cartoon movie, the Lorax.
Yeah.
All of that shit is man versus machine and creating that, what's that movie, In Time, with Justin Timberlake, where the rich people had all the time and your poor ass had minutes. And it's crazy because in Colombia, I didn't realize this, that the poorer people, they get a classism number where they can only travel across the country a certain amount of times a year. They can only travel outside the country, and they can only reach a certain height of a level of education that they can get. So when you think about somebody like Pablo Escobar that was breaking that shit in pieces, you think of that now, that is In Time. That is Running Man. Where you're saying, yo, you can only travel this many times a year. That's fucking. It's Running Man. It's Hunger Games.
But to be fair, we have freedoms. I love when people I hate the USA. All right, well, cool. Travel some. You've traveled, There's certain things that we don't do well, of course. But there's some things we can do that you just can't do other places too. We don't have the status that you'd have naturally when you're born into this country that you'd have somewhere else. You have to earn it. And the travel thing, we can travel where we want. It's cool, right? So I do think that part of the future depends on where you live and how far it goes. For instance, I think China would be an easier place to implement complete AI domination than any other country. because it's communist. The government controls it. The government would be able to stave back and make sure the rich people are still taken care of, and it would just be more of a society where they could create that. I think the U.S. you'd have try doing that in Kentucky. Nah, go in there, they're going to come out with guns and pickup trucks and try to kill everything. So it's
what is your idea of complete AI domination?
honestly, I think it's just we're all on welfare. I think we no longer have jobs. We're given a certain amount of money to buy food and entertainment or whatever, and they keep us controlled to just to control
So
population.
say like, okay, this is what's gonna happen. How long do you think it would take China to do something like that?
As it stands now, probably 5 years.
Yeah, I agree with that. How long? How much? I don't even. I just assume Kentucky is a bunch of dumbass motherfuckers with no teeth. I'm sure there's a genius there, but in actuality, like even that, I think could be AI down to the level of where some shit can become easy for you, but you have to be able to discern the cutoff point for. Then this is kind of what we're talking about. The cutoff point of like, all right, that's enough. That's all I need from AI, motherfucker. I don't need you to be. Because I was telling my boy like, yo, OnlyFans is gone in 10 years. It's not going to be real women. Why would it be? You could just make fake bitches
Oh yeah,
and they could be there in videos, and everybody's still gonna be turned on the same way. They can look at the shit and pay for some AI bitch that looks real anyway. So even that, even you being a whore, unless you're actually physically fucking somebody, is gone.
Hold on, look at the comment. Look at the comments real quick. Keith said they're doing it now by going to electric cars.
What the fuck does that mean? Comment again. I'm waiting. I'm waiting.
No
I'm
idea.
waiting for
That's
the
what I
answer to
mean.
that. This is why
That's
we
what
love
I
you,
mean.
Keith.
Though.
What does
That's
that
what I
even
mean.
mean? You're allowed to type a paragraph. I need to know right now. We have like a 5-second delay, so I'm gonna wait for. What does that mean?
Bro, like,
The
that's what I
only
mean
thing
by
I'm
Keith,
gonna, I'm
like,
gonna assume that he means like how iRobot is with Elon Musk, but I don't think you understand that Elon Musk doesn't really like AI.
right,
So if you
right.
took in the information to
I
him,
don't know what he means by like what control they have by making a car with a different power source. Like, just tell me
I'm
what.
assuming he means the self-driving car,
Yeah, maybe.
which which
But
which
even
is like
that, like, you
iRobot
can
or
turn it
like
off.
Demolition Man. But no, like that you can turn it off. But I imagine like because we've seen the movies, there's a measure where it's just like you can't turn it off now, motherfucker. I'm driving wherever I want,
Yeah, it just take
112
you
miles
wherever you
per
want to
hour.
go. Right.
So those are those type of things where I'm like, but somebody specifically like Elon Musk is one of the last people that will put those measures in place to go, look, I'm gonna use AI, but I only like AI to this fucking point. I don't like it further.
So Elon right now is at the phase where like everybody's watching the nuclear bomb movie. What's his name? The guy that made the
The
uh,
nuclear bomb movie. What is that? The shit
nuclear
that came out
bomb.
at the
The
same
guy
time
that
as
made the
Barbie.
first atom bomb. The guy that made the first atom bomb. They just made a movie about it, and it's a huge
Is
popular
that
movie.
that's the shit that
It,
came out at the same time as Barbie, right? With the dude from what's the
yes.
name of that? Peaky Blinders.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So Syria
Well, guess
Times or
what?
whatever his
I
name is.
didn't see
So
either of those two movies, motherfucker. Fuck those movies.
I get it. I get it. But the point is, when he was developing the technology, he hit a point where he was like horrified. Like, what am I doing right now?
Yeah.
But he had gone too far to stop, come back. So he's like, all right, I'm going to keep making this bomb, but it's going to end the world, right? Because he knew, like, if everybody has these and we all let them go, like right now, if we had a nuclear war, I'd be like,
It's
all
you at this
right, well
point. It's
then.
useless. It's like everybody dies. Okay, we get it.
Right, it's
It's,
stupid. Like,
it's
yeah,
not even a power thing anymore.
it's
It's not
like,
like, hey, motherfucker, you better be careful. It's like you don't even know what that shit does. You fucking wipe your own shit off the map.
well, it's like pulling out a gun in Florida and everybody has a gun. Like, all right, well, now
No,
what?
it's
You know,
like
like,
pulling out a fucking stick of dynamite in a crowd full of people while you're arguing with one guy, and you're like, "Motherfucker, you don't understand." And it's like, do you understand what you're holding in your hand, motherfucker? We're all dead because whether it's from the actual explosion or the nuclear fallout that destroys your fucking world anyway, what does it even matter?
Fritz just said something that is going to hit both of us the same. He said AI is better in some cases, and semi-pro teams can make flyers. Not someone's going to take pictures for you and make right. Then I said sucks for graphic designers. That's exactly why it's not good because the creativity piece can be done once they figure out how to make five fingers on a hand instead of six. It's
No,
over
so I can speak to that
because
specifically because right now I was
yeah,
looking, but think of how fast this moves along and think of how locked in you can look as a person. So me and my partner are in talks with somebody to put a brunch restaurant in Medellin, Colombia, right? So I'm like, okay, this is the idea that I have. This is what it is. And then I punch it into my graphic design AI, and I'm like, a restaurant that has this, this, and this, right? And then it pumps up 3 different ideas. I go through it. I keep re-entering it, and I show it to him. Now, to that person, shows like, damn, this motherfucker's really paying attention. I'm like, I am. I just don't have the time to design it. Now, I can always go back and say, oh, let's tweak this and let's tweak this with my mind. I don't have to build directly. But you have to sell that person still. And you only, it's like an elevator pitch on a million. It's like, yo, where I thought I had 2 minutes, I could do this shit in 3 seconds. I can sell you. So, Will Smith in Pursuit of Happiness doing a fucking Rubik's Cube in the elevator doesn't mean shit. Because I can show you this shit. It's like if I ran to Mark Cuban, yo, look, this is what it looks like. This is what it will look like. This is how it will be. And what you have to understand, that's what's even more crazy, Fritz, is that these motherfuckers are still too lazy to do that. They're still too lazy to do that. So even the fact that you have that skill to identify the right goddamn AI to design for you, these motherfuckers are still too lazy to even learn to do that. There's motherfuckers that said, yo, I've had people call me and go, yo, man, how do you jailbreak a Fire Stick? And I'm like, what? They're like, yeah, you're like one of the smartest people I know. And I'm like, you have a master's degree from an Ivy League school, sir, in engineering. You could make a Fire Stick. And that's the level of laziness or the level of entitlement that one would receive where they feel like they don't even need to. What's the fucking point? There's no point. I don't need to do that. I could just ask somebody else. Is where you'll start relying upon AI to answer everything for you. And then it turns into the fact that, like even in Kentucky, it all just comes down to the level in which you're using AI to say whatever. Some guys are going to fight forever, but then it's like, damn, if I have to take 3 more seconds to buy this Bud Light. I saw a guy in a fucking a Family Dollar the other day. Literally, it was a case of Bud Light on the bottom of like 13 cases of beer, right? Yeah. And he's fucking moving them in the store. I gotta move these cases of beer because I gotta get this case of Bud Light. I'm like, sir, Light? All this shit's terrible. Like, what are we doing here? Family Dollar doesn't sell good beer. So he's moving the cases, and even I can segue that to an even more funny story. My boy Paul, who bought me this knife. Hold on, goddammit, because now we got some people in there. I got to show y'all again. I want the knife. My boy Paul O'Connor, who bought me this fucking beautiful knife that I don't even know if I'm going to use in the truck because my truck doesn't deserve this level of beauty. This is like, I'm cooking for 2 people. I'm cooking for 2 people in the middle of the fucking goddamn Maldives or some shit like that. And I go, oh, you know what? Yo, hold on. Let me bust out this fucking knife. So he came to visit me at the brewery at Hob and Dunedin, and he's sitting there looking at this craft brewer beer menu, and he's like fucking lost. And I walk up behind him and I go, Paul, it's all right. They got Bud Light. And he looked at me and he went like this. No, they don't. And I went, no, they do, bro. So then he goes, and they do have Bud Light. He was so happy. But I'm like, it was just because of the confusion. And that, in turn, is still a level of the education that you put forth through, whether it be alcohol, whether it be art, whether it be security, whether it be designing. All those things, you can't stop learning about it because that is what's going to set you apart from that next person that's there. Like, when I see somebody on my page, on my Facebook feed say like, oh, Kanye's smart. Y'all just don't know what you're talking about. He's a genius. And my answer to that person is like, smart compared to you, not me. Yeah. That's the difference. Because the same level of visionary, I have it. But my base level education is better.
Yeah, and to me, it doesn't even matter because socially, smart's here. If you're an asshole, you don't hear. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, you can be as smart as you want. If I don't want to hear what you're saying, who cares? It doesn't stupid.
But even that, I would say that being an asshole is still in the eye of the beholder. Like the shit that I sent you earlier, where they just deleted my comment. I don't even know what the fuck it is. I'm like, who made this decision? There's nothing negative about it. There's nothing negative of anything. But on one case, somebody would be like, yo, raise a fucking asshole. But on the other case of it, I want you to win so much that I'm not going to sit here and let you keep going on in the wrong direction. I would seem like the nicest guy ever if I said, oh yeah, man, you're just doing such a great it's like some fucking dude that he showed up to a basketball tryout and he's got one fucking sneaker on and the other one's just barefoot, right? And everybody's like, huh, yeah, this motherfucker, he's out here. And you could tell, like, I bet you if this motherfucker had two sneakers on, he'd be pretty good.
Right.
So I'm the guy that brings you to the side and go, yo, motherfucker, I know you're pouring shit, but we got to get you two sneakers. Now, somebody else goes, oh, this motherfucker's an asshole. So I'm supposed to just sit here and watch you fucking fail? Or I'm supposed to give you the level to maximize your talents. Now, with that being said, the receiver of that information can either step the fuck up to the plate and go, yeah, you were right, man. I'm just a lot better now. Or I would rather just ran around with one sneaker and failed than to have you embarrass me. This is a real ass story. I was with my fucking daughter in Restaurant Depot, and for people that listen to the podcast, my daughter is autistic. So I'm with her, and I'm like, hey, I need you to go over there and get this bread over there. And she's very scared in social interaction. So she walks over there, looks at all the bread. I'm watching her look at it, and there's a lot of people in there. Keith, shut your ass up. And then you wasn't doing shit.
Flip flops.
He took my kicks, and he was not balling. So
I saw him arguing flip flops.
yeah, 'cause that's why I gave him my sneakers after. So so she comes back and I go, did you find the bread? She goes, no, I couldn't find it. I go, it's big. It says Wonder on it. And I walk over and I go, here it is. And she's embarrassed because people are hearing me talking to her. And I'm not talking to her on a crazy level. So then I go back and I go, all right, well, do you want cookies? And she's like, yeah. And I'm like, well, go pick them out. Or are you too embarrassed to go pick those out? Because the problem now is that if you're going to let your level of social embarrassment take over your willingness to succeed, that's insane to me. I remember when I used to work at Hip Zeppy, the owner, he's on my Facebook right now. His name is Delroy Allen. He owns a hotel in Jamaica because the niggas was getting sued by Nike, so he ran away.
Yeah, his name's Delroy and he's Jamaican. Wow.
And the other lady that was with him was named Pat. I don't think they was a couple, but I think he fucked her into a loan. So this motherfucker went, right? He said he used to have people go out in front of the store and sell this shirt that he had. I remember it was what the fuck was the name of that shirt? I forgot what it was, but it was the 2 for $25. And he said, yo, just go out there and yell 2 for $25 and you'll get it. And I was trying to tell him, like, yo, if it was two people, like, one person wouldn't feel that embarrassed to be out there while the rest of the people are in the store. So he said to me, a has no dignity. Like, what are you talking about? Stop worrying about how you feel and make your living. And I agree with it to a certain extent. But with that being said, with what I'm saying is now you put two people out there, they're having fun and then creating whatever they can create. And even when it comes down to those type of things, those are the type of things where it's like, because I'm able to kind of break down the human emotion better than most people that I've interacted as to why they're getting angry or why they're not getting angry, that means that if I'm in the majority, even if the fucking 98th percentile of being able to kind of discern human emotion in real time, that fucking AI is basing it on the other 98%. I'm in the 2, and that's based on the other 98%. So now you're basing somebody's emotional reaction off irrationality.
I mean, I think that atypical response is kind of why humans will survive, because, like art and everything else, you could have AI try to recreate all types of things. There's still some spontaneous piece to like a person like Keith. Well, you don't know what he's gonna say. There's no program that can predict.
Listen, I have a shirt, and I don't have it anymore, but I'm about to remake it. That says FTL, and then down the level of it, it says imperfection. And that is what we like about art. It has nothing to do with being perfectly symmetrical and everything to do with being fucking imperfect. Like, that is the level. Somebody hand making something is worth more money than, hey, I'm going to have this fucking machine 3D printed. The 3D print can be perfect every time, but what you're looking for is the craftsmanship and the imperfection. And that is what you love. And that's what people don't get it. Because on a regular basis, they're thinking, oh, I think for the most part on a regular basis that people don't realize how much they're dealing with AI up to this point. how much they're dealing with AI
Sure.
on these posts, how much they're dealing with AI in these comments, how much they're dealing with AI, and like I'm 100% sure now that LeBron has a PR team that just comments with AI on shit to counteract the other shit.
It's the safest way to do
And
it.
you're protecting your brand, so it makes sense. It's like if you were trying to put out I remember when Birth of a Nation came out. As soon as that shit was about to come out, because it was an independent film by Nate Parker.
Right.
All of a sudden, you got media coming out talking about, oh, well, you know this motherfucker raped somebody in college.
Right.
Well, I know he got acquitted of a rape charge with a white girl that he was in college with. But if you say it like that, then it makes half the people immediately go, ooh, should I do this? Same thing with this Jonathan Majors shit. Guess what, Marvel? I'm not watching your replacement for Kang because that shit, that actor, kills it. There is nobody to replace him. I don't give a fuck if it's Denzel. He does not do what that dude does in that role. Plain and simple.
Actually, he reminded me of Denzel in that show he did, the on HBO.
Lovecraft County?
Yeah, he reminded me of Denzel.
That it was regular, but when you see him in Loki and you see that show, it's fucking incredibly mind-blowing the way that show is.
Yeah.
And the way it gives way to everything else. And then you have Creed, which he made Michael B. Jordan look like he couldn't even act in Creed 3. He made him look like he couldn't even act.
He's phenomenal. Really is.
His boy's noise. God damn it, Keith. I don't even know what to expect from you next.
What I mean, like AI will not
Fuck everything y'all
Keith.
just said. That motherfucker's nose is crazy.
The world could not
There's
replace
nothing.
Keith.
There is
It's
no
like,
AI that would have ever said that at a point. So
No, it's impossible.
I know-
That's why Keith will survive the apocalypse.
I know. He was Mike Tyson in woman. Like Dr. No, so Mike Tyson, that's not what happened, Fritz. You're too young to even know what happened. Go listen to Guilty Conscience with Eminem and Dre. Ain't you the same motherfucker that slapped D bars because she came in the bar? He was all drunk. He wasn't Mike Tyson than anybody. And Mike Tyson, I think that would either refer to ear biting or rape, not slapping somebody in a bar. So my next AI thing, and I specifically mentioned this, is something like India and call centers. If for those that don't know that's listening, India has the second biggest population in the fucking world. So for them to make money in these call centers, and there's a show you can watch called 30 Days where the guy goes over there, Morgan Spurlock, and he works as a call center person in India, sees how much they work, and then he realizes that, oh, there's a big-ass office building, and then this guy that works as a call center employee lives in a tent right outside the building. So, and that's, in his mind, still a good job. So imagine now you take AI and replace all those jobs in India and the second biggest population in the fucking world. What do you think is going to happen? The Walking Dead is what's going to happen. Whether you're a zombie or not, like you need to eat, and you need to find out how that's going to happen. So it's fucking feast or famine, and obviously who's on the menu is the motherfuckers that got it. Whether that be us as a country or whether that be it's going to start with the rich people there, and then like Hunger Games or like Running Man or like In Time, you're going to have to build walls against this thing that how did this happen? I don't understand. Why are these people so hungry?
Well, then becomes the social piece to where you have a true government-run state and everything's whatever the government gives you. That's when we're all on assistance and we're all getting fed the same foods and there's no more choice in order to stay alive.
Yeah, but we're talking about our government. We ain't talking about India. By the time India mixes them, we're going to be like, hey, build that wall so he doesn't come in. I'm like, okay. Well, and side note for that, for everybody with the build the wall theory, like, you're not the most technologically advanced country in the world. So as soon as the other countries get a hold of it, there's a fucking airport in Japan that rises in the middle of the ocean and lowers with the tide. Who do you think you are? You just a regular nigga that fucking, works at CVS or some shit. Like, what are you talking about? Unless you're willing to fight against your normalcy for the sake of changing the world, for the sake of artistically changing the world, then shut the fuck up. You ain't building no fucking wall. You ain't standing there. You're going to be standing in your apartment with an AR-15 while somebody drops a fucking AI goddamn mini drone-driven nuke right into your fucking eardrum.
I do think the idea that like right now, like my favorite, because I have a personal connection, I know a couple of people work there, but Boston Robotics, um, talking about war machines, like their stuff is crazy, and they're like, oh, we won't have it armed. Don't worry about it. We're not going to do it now. It's armed, right? So that's the next level where like you get the Terminator type super soldier out there in the field just killing thousands of people, and you can't stop it. Um, then you elevate the level of weapons to nukes, and then and it eventually becomes like it's weird. Like
So there's
I've
another
never,
Black Mirror episode with one of the dogs that looks like it's from that show. And this dude's raiding a
yeah,
fucking warehouse, and the shit just comes out, and it chases that motherfucker for the next 2 hours until it kills him. Like there's just no. She thought she kills it, and then
yeah,
it just replaces its legs, stands up, and murders this bitch.
yeah. Well, and that's poignant because I think the more and more I look at it, I look at it like this. I've never subscribed to the main character theory, right? You know that
No.
theory? So everything's your own version of a story, and you're the main character, and everything happens around you is supporting.
Yeah, I don't believe that. But then again, I'm sure there's 100% people who do. Not 100%, but like,
It's not exactly a belief; it's a theory on how people approach other people
yeah.
in life. Right? So what I'm seeing now is like all the stuff that I've seen growing up is all kind of coming together, and it's all pertinent to me, and it's weird. Like certain things like Boston Robotics, I'm like, I had a connection to them back in the
Hmm.
late '80s. Like, and all of it's just becoming real news, and I'm just like, is this my story? And this is all stuff being shown back to me to try to make it relevant to me. And if you think about it, no one knows the meaning of life. We don't know if there's a God. We don't know if there's a heaven. We don't know if this is all a dream. We don't know if we're in the matrix as a battery source and this is all pumped into our brain. What if this is my story? And that's why it's coming to me in pieces, and that's why it's pertinent. And maybe everybody goes through this. So I don't think it's such a wild theory anymore, but I don't believe it either. But I know why people can subscribe to something like that.
There's a, there's a, well, I guess I don't know what people call it because it's religious books in India. There's this shit. Let me grab my phone so I can get the terminology right on it. All types of comedy going on here. So, in Indian religious history, which is some of the oldest religious history in existence, there's this thing called the Ramastra, which
Okay.
sounds like a fucking nuclear bomb. And at that time, only 9 people were able to invoke its ability. And then there's the other thing called the Brahmastra, which defends against it. So I wonder that when we get to this time period that we're at now versus that time period, is that percentage based? Like if we compare the percentage of 9 people at that time to what is that amount of people now, and do you put yourself in that period of time where you go, well, I guess if the percentage now is 50,000 people, then I deem myself one of the 50,000 people that are the protectors of what everybody else is thinking on this fucking earth, because it's starting to become overwhelming.
Yeah, I think that's happened before. Like, I think it happens every time something there's a major shift, and like right now, AI is a new thing. It's a new concept, but like Keith said before, with electric cars that had its own resistance.
No,
Then you
first of
had
all, fuck Keith because he didn't even fucking elaborate on that point.
no. That's the beauty of Keith, though. It's open ended. You figure it out. Like he knows
They
what he means.
doing it
Like if
now
you could
by
get inside Keith's
by
brain for
going
10
to
minutes,
electric cars. And then the next Keith
if
statement
you could
is
get inside his brain for like 10 minutes, you just be think a whole
this
different way. Be like,
motherfucker
yo,
went from electric cars to how big Jonathan Major's nose is. That's what we're doing here today. I'm about to
yeah,
build a car with Jonathan Major's nose. That's what I'm about to design tomorrow. Thank you, Keith.
electric too.
So, what the fuck we talking about? You don't remember?
What were we
Yeah.
talking about? we just had the Remaster shit, but then I changed it to talking about.
God damn it, CTE. Got him again. Got
Yeah,
him again.
it's bad. It's bad
So,
now.
I will move on to say that the kind of the biggest glaring thing that I see with the ability to just rely on Chat GPT to answer everything for people is the lack of emotion that you are going to have when it comes to actually interacting with people in person. It's just not going to be there. It's just, oh yeah, Chat GPT will answer for me. Well, Chat GPT, my girlfriend's crying. What am I supposed to say? Oh, based on another 50% of dumb motherfuckers, this is what they would do in that situation. Like, that's the problem.
But that's so. So let me circle back to ancient times or times from hundreds of years ago. Cyrano de Bergerac, right? Dude with the big nose, couldn't get girls, but he spoke for the other dude and made it sound eloquent
Jonathan
and
Majors?
basically wrote letters and everything. And he was kind of like the the ghostwriter for this guy. Well, Chat GPT isn't going to save you face to face.
No, but right now it's not. But these motherfuckers, you got to understand, 10 years ago, I saw Google Eyeglass that obviously they just put on the back burner where you're wearing glasses and it's literally real time like you're fucking Iron Man.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So perfect examples like when you were younger, going out meeting girls and stuff. You remember you had this group of friends, and you had like two or three friends in the group that just had no chance, just no
Yeah,
chance at
me.
all. Like
I was one
something
of them
happened.
niggas.
Oh,
Yeah.
really? Okay. I don't believe that. Well, maybe because you're just so opinionated, you're just
No,
scared
at that
off. You're
because
all
once
loud.
again, knowledgeable and passive. So at that time, it was just like, yo, let me just collect information. And at that
Right.
time,
Yeah,
you
that's
you were
terrible.
persuasive and wow. You had a rat tail and you was doing backflips and shit.
Yeah. But but the fact is, you're just not going to be able to. I get what the theory, like, oh, what if you get an implant in your brain, then it just comes right to hit. I don't know that we'll ever successfully get to that point, just because I'm sure, like right now with Elon and the device that he's creating, and like my strongest skill in life is my memory. And everybody's like, well, how do you say that? Well, it all comes from, if you have very good vision, you see things clearer, you remember them longer, right? If you have a strong memory because of that, it can expand based on different things you do with it. So for me, I've always had this crazy memory, and people confuse that with intelligence. It is intelligence to an extent because you have more knowledge because you just retain more. But the application of that is still something different, right? You still have to apply the knowledge, say the right thing at the right time. You have to be quick, and all that comes from eyesight,
Hmm.
believe it or not. So if you're looking at that from the aspect of how you implement chat GTP or any IA into a human being, would have to come through the eyes. So at what point we were on like some lens thing that just shows us all these things, and like we sleep with it and we retain all this information overnight, and it just makes us elevated to a point where we can use this stuff on our own, because it's never going to be a point where like the robot's going to speak for you.
Yo, bro. Like, yes, there will be. So I'll
Otherwise,
tell
you're
you
the
two
robot.
things.
That's what I mean. Like, it doesn't need us at that point.
Immediately, what I can think of is the last line of defense would be our dreams. That's what I can say from the beginning. The other thing, and it's crazy because I had this shit written down, is that our music hard copies versus our digital copies. For instance, there's your memory and your vision teaches you everything. But once again, now you're putting yourself in the minority versus the majority. The minority believes that Disney put out a Little Mermaid movie where King Triton's castle was made out of dicks. The majority now believes, because they corrected it, that it's not. So my memory is telling you, yo, the castle was made of dicks. You know how fucking crazy you sound to the majority? What are you talking about? No, it's not. Let me look it up. Here it is. See? Not made of dicks, because guess what? Disney has the money to erase all this shit on the internet. So the only thing you have to your name to prove your point, to prove that your memory is reigning stronger than the majority, is the hard fucking copy. So if they say tomorrow, yeah, Eminem's canceled, guess what? Eminem's canceled from the 3 fucking music streaming services. You can't go, hey, remember there was a white rapper? 10 years from now? because our fucking attention span is going. Like when people, it's funny when people say, "Oh, the in-season tournament doesn't mean shit." Guess what? The NBA doesn't mean shit. Guess what? The NFL. Do you know the best nigga ever in the Rome Coliseums? Like what the fuck? No. What, Maximus? Because they showed you a movie. Like that's what like that's where we're at. You don't even fucking know these sports that at the time were running the world and captivating and keeping people's attention. We don't know one nigga from that shit. But now you're going to tell me that LeBron James' is basketball ability and Michael Jordan's basketball ability is that fucking important in the grand scheme of the world? No.
But I think that's where the historians and the keepers of the information come in, like us. Like when we have sports debates and someone says, like I grew up a Larry Bird fan from Boston. I'm super loyal to Boston sports. So for me, when Jordan came around, I was like, wow. Like Larry can shoot. This dude is chiseled, doing anything he wants with a basketball. It's crazy. It's the next evolution of basketball. I remember saying that in my head, like this is the guy that's gonna wipe out your Larry Birds and your Magics. He pretty much did. I mean, it was the evolution of basketball. That didn't happen again until Shaq, and then Shaq was like a giant that could move like that. And I was like, yo, this is crazier than Jordan. This dude's 7'2", whatever, 400 pounds. He's dunking on everybody, and he got spin move and everything. Like, this is crazy. And then you looked at when Grant Hill came for Jordan. Like it was like, okay, now there's another version of a 6'6" shooting guard type dude built like that that can actually shoot the basketball a little better. It's crazy. Penny Hardaway, right? And then you drop back to Allen Iverson, 6'1", 170 pounds, working in the NBA, getting 30 a game. It's crazy. So I think there's always going to be a time and a place where you're going to have the exception. I think that's what kind of resets it. Now in the NBA, you got a Steph Curry that can shoot lights out everywhere, but we're figuring out he's super vulnerable when he doesn't have a team around him that can support that. Right? And then you're looking at LeBron James, who's literally probably the best built athlete ever and can physically do things no other athlete can do, and everybody hates him. It's just stupid. We're in a bizarre world.
The problem is that everybody hates them because of the direct comparison that you're creating, and then once again, it makes it seem like that's what it is. But I would imagine at this point it's like a 50-50 with what I see, and then most of the people are like, oh well, I'm just talking about basketball. I like what he does in real life, and in my mind, I'm like, when people ask me about sports, whether it be college basketball, any shit like that, I go like this: I don't even watch fucking sports. I just watch LeBron. Yeah. And wherever he goes, I'm supporting him. Because I don't give a fuck about basketball. This guy really is like a real king in real life. Like, the compassion, the ability, and the effort towards the circle around him, the way that he uplifts people around him, the way that he uplifts people that aren't around him, the way that he uplifts fucking fans that he interacts with, like, that's just a different level of a person, and I like that person. So I want to support that person. So even if Michael Jordan and LeBron were close, why the fuck would I support somebody that's not that? That's just crazy. It's fucking crazy to me. It's like, yo, Vlad the Impaler's a good guy. He's a fucking good he's a good basketball player, you know what I'm saying, bro? And I'm like, I don't know, man. Mr. Rogers is good too. Like, and they're like, fuck Mr. Rogers. I'm like, nigga, Vlad the Impaler's killing niggas and putting his heads on fucking fences. I'm gonna go with Mr. Rogers, bro.
I think that. So I think that.
By the way, that just came off the top, and that is epic. Like, there's so much shit that's in this episode that I have to go back and listen to it again because people don't deserve this.
No, it's I can't watch it continuously without stopping. It's hard. It's too much. It's just too, like, you try to watch something, you're trying to listen to it, and you can't because you're laughing. It's like that, and like the back to the Jordan thing for a minute. Like, I do believe, depending on where you are, again at an emotional, intellectual intelligence space, how you receive heroes or people you look up to. And I can't separate people who are terrible people that do something well that I appreciate, like a boxer. Like, when Mike Tyson was doing all that, I'm like, this dude's I get it. Pop culture thinks he's cool because he got the black shoes and the black shorts and all that. And he's little and he's knocking people out. It's cool, but this dude's an absolute piece of garbage in real life. Then you hear him at his vulnerable point in his life when his daughter dies and he comes and does the one man show. He tells you himself, "No, I was a piece of shit back then. I was
No,
terrible.
first of
Everything else
all, the Chris Rock show, very underestimated on HBO. You look it up right now. Chris Rock show, Mike Tyson for president, right? He goes, I think it was the Bill Clinton, George Bush presidency, like the fucking pre-presidency. He's like, George Bush says he never tries drugs. Fucking Bill Clinton says he never tried drugs. But who can believe them? Mike Tyson tells you the truth up front. He's like, yeah, I'm taking this thing to Zoloft, and I'm on that. That's just to keep me from killing y'all. And then there's another episode where he's like, I'm a semi-good husband. I'm a good lover. Like, so, whereas I think Mike Tyson's a fucking pathological liar, and I can't stand him. I listened to him again. Actually, I told Keith that yesterday. I saw his status, and I said, this motherfucker, I can't stand him. So, but once again, that's just because of the level of, like, emotional intelligence that I'm getting to is, like, just beyond that level of somebody that's even older than me, which is fair. There's shit that people that are younger than me that figure out fast, and I'm like, oh, damn, that's crazy. So if my mission is to figure out those type of things, how to conquer your emotions, how to, see what makes you tick and see what gets you to those points, then it's only got to be embraced by that. Yo, matter of fact, hold on, goddammit, because I think this is in my actual other notes, though. Hold on, because this is a good one. I have one note. Oh, towards the top, so that's good. Oh shit! This could go for 10 more hours. We're gonna have to do a part 2. So if people, like, for instance, I think you can't be the president of the United States until you're 35 years old, right? No matter what. So that's based on the premise that your brain is not fully developed until you're that age. So why are we not teaching people to become doctors in high school or they're in grade school?
I don't think it's knowledge. I don't think it's proficient in knowledge. I think it's wisdom
But
too.
you can be a doctor at any age.
Right, but I don't think that requires wisdom.
It doesn't. So why
Right.
are we not saying, yo,
to be a leader of anything? I think to be a leader of anything, it requires some wisdom and
to put that into perspective, Jesus Christ could never have become the president of the United States.
Why?
Because he wasn't old enough.
He was the
So
son
he
of
died
God.
before 35. That's crazy.
It's Jesus.
Nah, Jesus ain't gonna be my president. Not my president.
Yeah, so you're talking about with the presidency. I get, because when I was a kid, I was class president of my high school, right? And I won as a write-in, which is kind of crazy.
What? What are you? How many
the
bitches
town.
did you fucking? Jesus Christ.
No, stop. So I went in and I was new to the town. My family lived down there, but I got moved out of Boston, so I moved down there, and we had this election freshman year in high school, and I got up and they said, anybody else who wants to run as a write-in, get up here, make a speech, and get on the ballot. So I went in, I stood up, brand new school, made a speech, this auditorium full of kids, and I got elected president. I just didn't care. I was from
Now,
Dorchester.
once again, you see that? I could never have done that then. But the way that people look at me now is like I was always that, and it just wasn't the case.
I don't think that necessarily is a reflection of
Keith said
who I am
you
now,
were
and-
obviously a dictator.
I mean,
Yes.
I can't. If I was a king tomorrow, someone said, "Hey, you run this kingdom. Pick your people you want around you." Keith would be one of my people. He wouldn't be my jester. He'd be an advisor too, because I need someone who thinks off the wall like this dude. Honestly, I do laugh at it, but I see the genius in it too. Like, his brain must be the most fun place. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and I know, like, I read through a lot of his posts, and he'll write like 16 things in a row about how some girl hurt him, and I'm like, oh, he's in pain, and then he'll say the goofiest shit that I'll just laugh for 10 minutes, and I'm like, not that much pain. But that's the whole, I love the way his brain works. I don't want a brain like that, but I would have him around me for sure. But when it comes to that, like I believe that the experience of a president and him being 35, that's even still a little young. Like if I was hiring someone to run my company and they were 35, I'd need to hear a lot of information from them to get to believe that they had the life experience to do it. Because at 35, I didn't know shit. Like I was intelligent, but I didn't have wisdom like I do now at 51.
When
And it took me
by the time I
kids.
can tell you right now, when I turned 30, it was like my brain clicked the fuck on. It was like, yo, oh my god, like everything I can think of, I can reach for immediately. Like it just was never like that before. So at that point in that period of time, I just imagine it's what you get caught up in that time that you deem being important that you apply your mind to. So if you're like, yo, fine, I'm just gonna apply my mind to being the best at the job that I'm doing or best at the successful that I'm doing. That's the reason why at this point you're now can go in and kind of obliterate somebody that thinks they're a security professional because at that time you were using the power of your mind to be the best at what you felt you needed to be the best as. You know what I'm saying? And for me, it was like,
Hold,
I got
hold
you.
that thought. I wasn't, right? But what I was doing is I was trying to be good at everything, right? So if, and at the time I was playing semi pro football, I fell in that trap. I did it for way too long, but I'll never trade it for the people I met, right? I'll gladly take all those years, all that pain, everything. I'll take it 100 times over because the people I met you through
Hmm.
semi pro football, right? If it wasn't for that, I wouldn't be where I am today.
For sure.
Now, that being said, I didn't ever have a career goal. I didn't ever have anything I wanted to do or anything. It's just kind of the places I ended up. Something put me in that direction and it clicked. That's why I subscribe again. I say I never believe in the you know main character theory, but in my life it makes sense. And I think in your life it probably makes sense. If you look at it like that, like I'm the main character in this game and everything's happening for me, if you look at that and stuff that connects all over the world, like, oh, this happened over here in this world, I know about that. Like, it all just kind of starts to fit in place. And then what you don't, because how we live our lives is we don't really, yes, we force ourselves to see new things and do new things and have new experiences, but we don't really do it unless we're interested in it, unless it's by accident,
But
right?
the point that begins is what like I was getting kicked out of grade school, and at that
Right.
time, through the majority, you're like, damn, I want to just be. I look at it like I want to be as smart as the kid that's being praised. But do you want to be
Yeah.
as smart as the kid that's being praised, or you just want to be praised as much as the kid that's being
Just want the
praised?
praise. Yeah, you want the praise. Right. Exactly. You don't care about being that kid. It's you want the treatment. But like, take this for instance. Like, did you ever in your life think you'd live in Florida?
No, when I was younger, it was like, oh, Boston's the shit, and now I'm just like, fuck this whole country. Like, I just want to travel the world like can't like fucking what Kung Fu the Legend continues, and just fucking, all right, I'm in a new
Right.
place. But the fucking problem is like now, okay, you have kids, you have to make sure they're all right. Because if I was just, but
Right.
not even only if I was single, if it was just me and my wife, we would just be fucking traveling this world and living in fucking random shanties in the middle of Antarctica if we needed to, just so we could further study the world and the way it's supposed to work.
Yeah. I think that growing up in Boston specifically was healthy because we did get a big dose of everybody, right? You had, I don't know about you, but I had Asian friends, every Caribbean island, people from Europe. I had friends from all over the
I
world
got into
growing up in
I
Boston.
got into an argument with a food influencer from Miami because he was telling me that there's more Islander. Because he was telling me first of all it was like a Boston playoff series. Like, oh, Boston food's trash, and I was like, Boston food's 1,000 times better than fucking Miami. And he's like, oh, what do they have
Yes.
there? We have island food. I'm like, you have Haitians. Boston has everybody, every Islander there
Right.
is. I was like, there's
Every
more
island.
Jamaicans in
Yeah.
Boston than there is Miami, bro. Like, are you fucking
Martinique, like
crazy?
yeah, of course in the food, like Boston's.
And I said, "Yo, you don't even have Asian food. There's not even a fucking Chinatown in Florida and has
Real
28 million
Chinese
people. But there's a Chinatown
food.
in Costa Rica. So how do you think you're holding a
Right.
candle to any Asian fusion in Boston? It's just not close, bro. I said in fucking pizza, don't even waste my fucking time.
Outrageous. Yeah, that's crazy. I mean,
But in my
I'll be
mind, it was in
honest.
the eye of what you've experienced and what you think is a lot of Islanders and what you think. You don't even know what a Cape Verdean is if you live in Florida.
Yeah, it's funny.
Keith?
I have to explain that 2 times a week.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna just start lying and saying Puerto Rican. Like it's funny. Like I had a dude that was like a Dominican dude walk up to me. He's speaking to me in Spanish. I know it's Dominican, so I told him I'm not Dominican. He goes, "What? Like, how do? Why did you even know what I said?" I was like, "Bro, I got mad Dominican friends. Like Nelson is on here, Nelly." I
Nelson
was
has
trying to
ADD.
explain
He
to
ain't on
Jack
here no
one
more.
time.
I can't see if
Right, so
he was on here
I was
earlier,
trying to
but yes.
I was trying to explain one time to someone who didn't know the difference between Dominican and Puerto Rican and why there's a rift there. And they were like, that doesn't make any sense. I'm like, exactly. Right? So people who should get along, everything's fine, but there's that rivalry there because you got food, culture, all different things that are close but different. And you might say, like, no, I like this better Dominican, but I like this better Puerto Rican as far as food goes. But everything's a little different. That's why you can't lump it all together. That's why when you come down here and people are like, oh, Spanish food, I'm like, whoa, what are we talking about? Like, Cuban. Okay, Florida got a lot of Cuban food. Nothing else though. I mean, it might have a little spot here and there, but it's not like Boston where you can get
Run into
great
it by
quality
accident.
food
Yeah,
like that.
exactly. Like people. So I mean, as we're moving along, like I think I'll boil it down to kind of three more topics of conversation. This just isn't even going to do with AI. Some of them is, some of it isn't. I don't care because we're going to need another episode for the amount of information that I have on there.
Just fit
But with
AI
that
into
being
it
said,
anyway.
I'm going to follow this up with two quick episodes. One being with Fritz, that's about you streaming and gaming and video gaming as well. So I mean, just to kind of get into that, I would say, God damn, why does shit keep resetting? I don't like that shit.
Keith, that's stupid. Stupid ass.
I look at it the same because life feels like a simulation. Okay, to you, you can't put that feeling on everybody, Keith. Um, the first thing I'll say is when it comes to and you don't really see a lot of movies and shit like that. Zombie movies. What is the level that determines that this person is a zombie? Like, do you have to see them eat brains, or do you have to give them an IQ test? Like, or do they have to be attacking you? Because in actuality, like a regular person could be attacking you. You're like, yo, this motherfucker's a zombie. Like, is there an amount of people that we go, okay, everybody's a zombie now? Or what if it's just, what if 100,000 people tomorrow just start running up on people and just licking their arms? They didn't kill them. Is that zombies?
Yeah. It's the one. I'd rather get eaten, man. That's crazy.
Like, is there but once again, you're not allowed to kill them for that.
Yeah, I don't.
So when is the government just
Well,
like, yo, we're gonna have to kill all these
I'm
motherfuckers,
sorry,
all these
but if
arm
someone,
licking
if a bunch,
motherfuckers?
yeah, if everybody's licking me and I killed them, I'm pretty sure I'd get off on that one because that's like
Okay. All
COVID and
right.
all
So
that. Like
now
that
we
could
got the
be deadly.
first 10 people. You seen that fucking video during COVID where the white dude walks into like a fucking dollar store and he's
Yeah.
coughing on that lady's kid? Like, oh, you gonna
Yep.
scare me? I would have killed him.
I would have killed them too. You know me. I mean, bro, like even the saying he's gonna do it would have got him at least knocked out. Like
No,
I'm
it's
not.
not elite. Like this would have been so bad, so fast that I wouldn't
Yeah, if
have
he
no
actually did it, I
control
would
over
have
what was
murdered him.
happening.
Murdered him with my bare
So
hands.
I'm like,
Yeah.
within a situation like at that time, you know how crazy that is. At that time, you could argue attempted murder in a court of
Right.
law. You can't do that now, right? Or can you? Say
I mean, you can
so.
argue
No,
anything
say
you want,
from a
and that's
lawyer
where.
perspective, you just go, oh yeah, well I moved to Kentucky and I didn't watch TV for a year, and the last thing I remember is that COVID was killing everybody. That's why I moved to Kentucky. So then this guy coughed on my fucking kid in a mall, so I shot him in his fucking head. In a court
I
of
would
law,
personally
I
kill him
thought
with
he was killing my kid.
bare hands. Kill him with my bare
Now,
hands. I just I don't this again. I thought I was grown up until I had kids, changing my whole perspective on everything. It did. It made me. I knew I was a little bit of a maniac, like a little bit. When I had kids, it turned into like, what are you looking at? Well, you're a cute kid there. Watch what you're saying right now because you might die from that, right? Like it just turned into a whole different level of protective. And I got it now in check to a point where like I understand the difference and like I can't catch them every time they fall and all that. But in the beginning, when I was a new parent, forget it. It was I wasn't I wasn't in a good place. You know what I mean? Like now I'm a little better at it.
So the next thing is, and Hulu is a big advocate of this this statement, and where I'm standing is that in the beginning of cable TV and broadcast TV, you were not allowed to advertise alcohol, drinking alcohol, or smoking at all. Now,
Yeah.
I feel like the internet has created a gray area with streaming platforms where that doesn't hold true anymore, because every single time I fucking turn on Hulu, it's telling me about mesothelioma or goddamn Blue Chew or all this shit, and I'm just like, what is not allowed? What's not allowed on these streaming platforms right now? Because it feels like you can
Yeah.
advertise anything, and I feel like you only saw pharmaceutical ads at night. I think that's what it is. I think it's the cost of it, because I think before you only saw pharmaceutical ads at night if you were watching TV, or if you were old and you were watching like Jerry Springer during the week.
Any pharmaceutical ads, or just those?
No, like any pharmaceutical ads before was like if you were watching daytime TV, like Jerry Springer or something like that, or if you were watching nighttime TV. So it could have been a cost efficiency thing and how much ads were at the time, and them like deeming whether it was valuable to get directly to their client base at the time. So they just said, oh, well, old people are home during the day, so you'll see those pharmaceutical ads. And somebody like at that time, where if I was like I missed school, that's when I would see it, because I'd be like, oh, I'm watching TV. This is what these old motherfuckers is watching all day. Motherfucking what's the name? Motherfucking Diabetes. You didn't see Diabetes in prime time ever.
No. But you got to remember, 2020 it went up 75%.
Because COVID dropped the restrictions of what you needed to like. It was like, I said this to somebody, like Viagra was heavily like, okay, we're not going to be able to give up Viagra now. And then all of a sudden, during COVID, you can have somebody show up on a computer and be like, yeah, yo, you need a harder dick. And this is the way you do it. There's a fucking Blue Chew. We'll send it to your house. And you remarket it, and then you get influencers to promote it for you. Like, this is like if you know how much money it would take to do something like that, to erase the red tape? Like, tomorrow, if I created a company and I just went, you don't understand, this is Focus Factor, and it's just generic Adderall, we already know Adderall works.
Right.
Fucking the United States government invented it, and before that, Hitler was giving meth to his fucking people to keep them on point and focused. So if I call it something else, guess what? It 100% works. And if you give me the ability to say, hey, I'm just going to give out Adderall, call it Focus Factor, but it's going to be on a site called Hims, and it's going to be like, Hims Focus. Here it is, Hims Focus, y'all. Y'all going to be able to focus. And we get over all the red tape because COVID dropped the restrictions of what you needed to, I don't know, develop a vaccine or shit like that, and the timeline that you needed to study these said things, and the doctor ability and interaction that you needed. Because now I can just go, yeah, you're right, bro. You do need Blue Chew. Because your fellow Instagram social media influencer told you you do. So here's some dick pills, everybody. Like that.
But you got to remember, everything we do here is based on our economy. So, like in Europe, in Holland, for example, marijuana's been illegal forever. Heroin's been legal for a long time. Adderall, all that stuff you can buy over the counter.
You can't
It's
buy Adderall
really
over the counter in any other country because the United States invented it. That's the fucking problem.
well, whatever the European equivalent to Adderall is, they have. It's not called Adderall.
I don't know
but they
what,
have a
because
focus.
anything that's amphetamine driven, the United States owns. So Adderall, Ritalin. I don't know about Concerta, but there's another one. There's another two that maybe they have. Uh, fucking, I forgot what the name of that shit is. But it's like there's a some back pill called Baclofen, or like tramadol. My uncle's like, oh, I got this tramadol. I'm like, oh, whoa, that's crazy, because it's like,
Okay, so here it is. It's crazy. There's a whole Reddit page on if I move to Netherlands, what are my options? My ADHD is being successfully treated with Adderall in the United States. Okay, so it says I am Dutch, 25 years old, diagnosed at 23. I take psychiatrist prescribed dexamphetamines, which is as
yeah,
far as I
that's
understand
the
is the main
generic Adderall,
Adderall.
dexamphetamine.
So they have it in Amsterdam. So that's what I'm saying. Like our economy is based off of name brand drugs, and why we have such a tight hold on that stuff is because we don't have anything we export anymore except for
Procentra,
stuff like
Zendita. I'm looking at that drug so I can see what prescribed for narcolepsy, which is what all the cops used to say. Oh, they gave me Provigil. Every single motherfucking overnight cop at Mass General. Provigil. You don't understand. Provigil keeps me awake. It's like, how about we just not kill our people and by overstaffing the fuck out of them on an overnight, fucking 50 hours a week? Oh no, just take the drugs. You'll be fine.
that's how we work.
Australia. I'm trying to see what the base. Yeah, that's generic. Just generic Adderall, dexamphetamine. There's no question about that. Well, I guess you can get cocaine anywhere. There's no question about that.
True. I told you recreational cocaine will be the biggest thing ever
Whoa,
in the US.
whoa. You didn't tell me shit. I told you that.
I did.
I told you that, motherfucker.
Well, I told you that too.
No. I remember this shit like it was yesterday. I'll tell you exactly what happened. I said, yo, they need to just legalize drugs, all of them, because that's the only way to stop this shit. And you said, what are you talking about? Like, can you imagine somebody going out for the weekend and be like, I'm going to get cocaine? And I looked back at you and went, motherfucker, have you worked at the Canopy? Yes. That's exactly what will happen. And then after that, you went and watched the Rogan podcast with the motherfucker that legalized all the drugs but had the stats to back it up, and then you change your perspective on it. Cocaine, 100%.
I did. And what really turned me the other way was I watched that Rogan episode with Carl Hart, Dr. Carl Hart. And he said the most poignant piece, the part that I really didn't understand. He said, you're taking something that used to be legal and you're making it illegal to make a profit off of it. And then you're going to make it legal again and have it government controlled. Like we got the best version of it. And then the synthetics are going to come out and those are going to be government driven and they're going to have less side effects. And therein I see the whole game plan. But when energy drinks happen and all the different ways of boosting those parts of your body that have the same type of response, I saw pretty clearly that no, there's definitely a pathway for this to be recreational. Now, synthetic medical cocaine, recreational cocaine, would be a crazy. It would sell off the charts as far as like
especially in this fucking state.
Of course, it would go crazy. So I can see it. I can definitely see the pathway to that.
So what you said is hilarious to me because yes, the energy drink market. If the energy drink market was to hit the mid 1800s, it would be fucking insane. It would be like, yo, everybody, because once again, at that time, caffeine was like the snake oil guy would show up and be like, I got this mix. You don't understand. It's menthol, but a little bit, he's not telling you what it is, but you mix some menthol with some fucking mint and some caffeine, you're going to feel like, ooh, I feel refreshed and I get energy because I got some caffeine. Boom. Now that shit's getting given to you 50 fucking times a week through an energy drink. I thought about this shit the other day because it's hilarious. You ever seen the movie Beetlejuice?
Yeah,
remember the daylight? Oh man, we want to go.
Yeah.
That artist that made that song is a black dude.
Harry Belafonte.
Yes. Now, at that time, what was it, the 50s and the 60s?
Yeah.
Can you imagine that shit must have sounded like Sexy Red to white people at the time? Like, my pussy pink, my booty hole brown. That's what that shit must have sounded like. Like, what is this? Nigger in chantry. I can't do this.
Oh, man.
That's how racism, like 100%. Because I was like, yo, maybe this song's like from the 80s. Maybe it came out for this movie. And I'm like, yo, this shit's from the 50s? White people must have been like jumping off bridges because their kids wanted to be with black people. I have that noted, by the way.
You know what's funny is I remember I can't remember what TV show it was. They were talking about how big of a deal it was that Harry Belafonte was so handsome. Have you ever seen him?
He
He's
looks like
this
O.J. Simpson. He looks like O.J.
He's light skinned though. He's like mad light.
Well, it was black and white, so I couldn't tell how dark he was.
Right, but it was like one of
I'm
those.
looking
like,
up right now. Maybe they haven't remastered.
Tall, he was tall, he had the voice and everything, and it was a big deal because he was a Caribbean dude, and they were like, "Oh, what's going on here? Like, we gotta stop this right now."
This motherfucker looked like I don't. The color is so. Oh my god, this definitely remastered. This is Keith's motherfucking self-driving car AI created this shit. See if I can put this shit up.
Yeah, look at him. Yeah.
That's the picture that I just got too. I was like, oh
Hey,
shit.
you said that.
Oh my god. I've showed it to everybody. I don't give a fuck.
Yo, it's better with this.
No, it's coming on the screen. Like everybody's gonna see this motherfucker. Look at this goddamn handsome Negro with his widow's peak. Y'all think y'all?
Yeah, they got him with no shirt on with a flower. Look at this. This gift.
Mm-hmm. Look at this motherfucker. He's light skinned as fuck. Like this is all you need to look like, right here. See that, Keith?
Yeah, they got him in the military, all patriotic too. Like
This motherfucker's just a regular dude. He had a widow's peak. He didn't have to go get a super lineup or any of that shit.
right.
I don't know, man. Y'all overthinking this shit. But anyways, all right. We'll get back to the next episode. I think the next one I'm gonna do next week is gonna be about travel, why you think it's important. I'm gonna do it with my wife because she obviously has the company Via Bulgaria, which is this hoodie.
Yep.
So you can understand that it's not just about travel teams and how you support each other and so on and so forth and what we think from that point. I'll probably come back the week after that, do the episode with Fritz, and then we'll go week 4 and do a part 2 of this AI shit because I really need to organize the second half of it as well. And I'll come back with Ralph and do that. But thank you guys for tuning in. Like I said, if you want, subscribe. YouTube Imperfect Audio. We're on Spotify. It's easier to listen on Spotify, and I'm going to upload that tomorrow. As far as YouTube, I don't know their regulations. Sometimes they just take my shit down for no reason. So we'll see if I even put it up there. But have a good night, everybody, and I'll see you for the next one.
Peace.